There have been plenty of challenges and problems with the recently launched Race for Stanton event in Star Citizen, not least as the last gameplay video showed, sometimes with players. But for every bad egg there are also good Samaritans, people who are happy to go the extra mile to help each other out. I'm Forrester, and this gameplay video shows how some players can be really positive in helping each other out with the new global event. It's a short gameplay video of working on the large cargo transport missions as part of the Race for Stanton content, and it's in direct contrast to the last video, so hopefully a little more uplifting. And this run through starts off with the accepted contract and calling in an absolute fan favourite for this event. That would be the Argo RAFT. Never before has this little ship been so popular. It did recently get an update to the cargo grid at the back, which makes it significantly more usable, but not least it's very good value for those intending to purchase for Alpha UEC, but it's also rentable, so this little ship has suddenly become very, very popular. There's a short wait for the hangar queue before we'll head out and go and pick up this cargo. Unfortunately, these hangar waits are becoming quite commonplace for the event, which are really funneling people into the starter landing zones as well as the orbital space stations. It's unfortunate and hopefully something that is on the pad to be addressed, as it can often take a little bit of time to be able to get where you're hoping to get. In this case, we're heading around the planet before landing down on Microtech to try and pick up this shipment. Unfortunately, the quantum drive routing doesn't seem to be working by heading straight there, so there might be a little bit of setting a course needed. As the Argo is drifting a little bit. Yes, it doesn't want to go directly there, so we'll just head to an orbital marker and then try it from there. Lovely view of the planet of Microtech down below. Those that watched the previous video will know that Microtech is my first choice of corporation to support during this event, not least because New Babbage is my home in-game, but also I think the Microtech skins look pretty good. Yes, I'm aware of the potential for a 5% discount if you get onto Hurston and the ship advantage of doing so, but frankly Hurston are probably going to win at time of recording anyway, so I would rather do the one that I want to do. And just look at all of these ships littering the landing pads down below. This gameplay video was recorded about 3 days into the event, so there have been a small number of hotfixes which address some of the playability challenges, but people are flocking to this event to try and get it completed, to get their unlocks, and I guess to help their chosen corporation. So the landing pads are fairly busy. A little bit of juggling around of the raft, and try and get into a decent position to be able to load some cargo. And hopefully zooming out there just gives a flavour of just how busy this landing spot is. It's quite strange to see. I think if you get out and about in the verse you'll often see that some spots are busier than others, but at the moment it feels like these spots are really attracting a large amount of ships, which is, I guess, a useful testing scenario for the developers of the game perhaps. In this case, we've got about 180 SCUs that we need to transport. The raft is capable of transporting up to 196. There's plenty of space aboard to be able to do that. Blown over by the wind. But as you can see, this freight elevator is in use. And I do love seeing these ATLS all around. This is where actually people can be much more helpful for each other. So quite often as I'm flying around to this event, I'll see the ATLS just left for the next person to use, which given the number of people that are using rafts to complete the event is actually very helpful. The raft can carry an ATLS, but it can't really do that with the full 180 SCUs of cargo as well. So it's quite helpful that they're being left around. Fortunately I can't pick up those crates to free up that freight elevator, so I'll head back to this one and offer to help this person in their ATLS to load up their ship. And they look to be using the Zeus CL, which is one of my favourite haulers. I'm not actually using it for this one, but I do regularly use it for other hauling contracts, so I'm very, very happy to see the Zeus CL there in use. So here I'm actually going to try and be a little bit helpful and hopefully make it clear that I am helping. I don't want this person to think that I'm getting in the way or anything like that. I'm hoping to make it quite obvious that I'm trying to help. Of course, I don't really know how they want to stack their cargo grid, so I'm just trying to move things nearby and then they can choose how they want to stack it. Hopefully that's helpful and not intrusive. I guess we'll find out. But they're also struggling with some crates at the moment anyway, so looks like they might need to get aboard and address that. I don't want to get too close aboard either, because I'm not in a party with this person that I've just met. I obviously can't access the things on the grids to help move them back, but I don't want to be getting too far into the ship for being accused of trespassing, so I think I'm just going to help to move some crates outside the ship and let them organise the boxes within. Hopefully they see that as me being helpful. I don't want to be seen as interfering and making things worse. There's a Crusader ship tries to body slam the raft there. I'm hoping it's obvious that I'm trying to be helpful. They are struggling with the ATLS here, much as I often struggle with the ATLS. It is it's a very useful tool when it works how you want it to, and the people that can use it well can really get a lot out of it. I am not one of those people. The ATLS hates me. So I have a lot of sympathy for this person who's trying to get things moved where they want, and the ATLS is not necessarily helping them to do that. Hopefully they get the message and they start just organising their crates aboard, and then I can help to queue up the next set for them. We'll see. I don't want to interfere too much with what they're doing either. I think they've realised that what they probably need to do is get aboard and reorganise things, so that seems to be what they're doing. It's quite interesting seeing the Zeus CL doing this, because particularly for these larger hauling missions, I don't know that I would get all of that cargo on board the Zeus CL. Even off grid, I think it might be a tight fit to try and do that. So maybe they're just doing it in a couple of trips, a couple of different hauls. We shall see. I'll try and put these things on the back of the ramp to help them out. Try and be a little bit helpful at least. There we are, stacked up ready for them to grab. And we'll get the next crate over. I'm assuming they're wanting everything from this freight elevator because they've ultimately called this stuff, so I am making the assumption that they want it all. I guess we'll find out. I think all of this should fit on the Zeus CL. It doesn't look like it's a full contract's worth of crates, so they seem to have it all in hand anyway. It does have this bug where sometimes the crates are floating on the elevator. Right. Elevator's clear, so I'm going to try and call up some of the goodies that I need whilst they organise their own ship. I have my own organisation to do in due course, I'm sure. So here, just trying to see how much I can get on the elevator before it gets into the overloaded space. Wipe my visor. Just try and figure out what's the right amount of boxes to be able to do that with. Now remember, this is only a short amount of time into the event, so if you're anything like me and you're like, this is obvious, this is like an issue, a bug, where like the bottom deck doesn't work as intended and you just have to do a smaller number of crates at a time, It's obvious after you've done it a few times, as I now have, but certainly the first time of trying to do this, it was not all that obvious on the first try. So just trying to figure that out, work out what I can afford to do, what I can't afford to do. And I have got 9 of those crates on there now, so... And our friend in the zoo CL seems to have been able to load a lot of that stuff up, so... Here we are, I've got my crates. I can move these across, ready to load up on my raft. I am using my small multi-tool for this. And here, look, another person is being helpful for me. And this is such a wonderful change from the day one experience of people just interfering with each other, trying to prevent each other from doing the event. This is much more wholesome, I think, to a cargo transporter. I know there will be those that think that this is all a bit too lovey-dovey, a bit too Care Bear, everybody helping each other, and the game should be chaos. To some extent, you know, I could sympathise with that, and certainly, you know, I wouldn't be complaining too hard if I took all this cargo off and then got interdicted by pirates or someone like that looking to steal the cargo. But ultimately, these outposts for loading the cargo should be fairly safe and secure, and so, well, we've got some players being helpful, helping each other out. I think this is nice to see. This is the good side of the Star Citizen community, and I think this is a positive. So those are all my crates loaded aboard. I only called up those first 9 crates. I've still got a lot more to bring up, but somebody else is using the elevators to bring up their crates, so I'm going to try and be helpful to them. Just be a good citizen. We help each other out. There's a person with their ATLS. Give them a little nod to say thank you for your help. And I think that person using the console there is having the same challenges that I was having, and is realising, actually, I can only perhaps do a little bit at a time. Oh, they're leaving their ATLS for others to use. That's very helpful. So I'm going to see where this person is taking their cargo, and then help them to move it. They seem to be just flinging it onto the floor down there. Now, interestingly, that was a 2 SCU crate rather than a 4 SCU crate, so I wonder if this person is doing perhaps a medium-sized contract rather than the large-sized contract. But they seem to be wanting just to stack a load of boxes over here, so I'm going to help them with that. And I can see the person with the ATLS there is actually moving those crates onto my raft. I think they think that it must be my crates, so I'm going to try and make it obvious by taking them off that these do not need to go on the raft. I know that I had 9 crates on, and I know exactly how I loaded the 9, so if there are other crates going on, I can just lift them off for this other person. And I'm hoping that it becomes obvious that by me removing them, these are not my crates. I think this person is genuinely trying to help. Sometimes the help isn't needed. And there we go, that person has got their crates there. So I can now call up my next set of boxes. And I guess they're going to move them back over to their ship. They weren't able to park quite as close as I was. So still having the issue here. So I'm just going to split the stack, which is now what I know is the easiest way to do it. Bring them up and load them aboard. And there's a lot of derelict cargo ships around here, which makes it a bit more complicated to figure out what's going on where, but I know what my cargo is, I know which one my ship is. That's all I need to know for now. And this person has helpfully left their ATLS here ready for use, so I am going to grab it and use that just to fling the boxes over to my ship and help to get loaded up. I don't worry here about getting them looking too neat on the ship because I can move them over and neaten them up later. I just want to get them off the freight elevator so that it's available for use for other people as quickly as possible, and so that I'm not being a nuisance. I don't want to be a nuisance when these people are all being so helpful. I can see into that ATLS there loading their own cargo as that Zeus CL makes its way into orbit. So I can see that other ATLS is still working on those crates, organising those crates. Trying to find somewhere for the ATLS to put this. Probably could have done this in a more organised fashion than I am. Like I say, the ATLS does not like me at the best of times. And now I can put those on in a more orderly fashion. And again, I know that all of my crates are loaded onto my ship, so I'm not in anybody's way, not interfering with anything. And I can move all these crates, and I like to organise them from front to back. I guess that's the obsessive part of me that likes to load cargo a certain way. So now that I've got a little bit of organised, I'm moving from front to back, and I know from a little bit of quick maths those are the 18 crates that I've brought up so far, because I've got 2 neat rows of 4 plus 2 and then a row of singletons. I don't know if that makes sense, but I've used the raft enough to know that's what it should look like at this point. So we'll bring the next set of crates up. Once again, going to use the raft for a little bit of speedy crate moving. I know it's not as kind to me as that small tractor beam, but it gets things done a little bit quicker, I think, for freeing up that freight elevator for somebody else to use. And I know there'll be plenty of people out there who think that this is really uninteresting gameplay. This is like glorified Tetris with very nice graphics. And, I mean, they're not entirely wrong, I suppose, but I actually quite enjoy this. There's something quite relaxing about moving crates. Even when the event isn't on, the hauling contracts for me are quite chilled out, they're quite zen, so I quite enjoy the hauling gameplay. So I think it is a valid criticism for those that really aren't into cargo hauling, that this is like not their bag. But for me, I do quite enjoy it. And the nice thing about the Race for Stanton event is, in theory, there are non-hauling options available for players as well. So for those that are combat focused, whether that's space combat or ground combat, in theory, there are contracts to allow them to complete the event. In practice, they are very hard to get, because I think basically anybody who gets very quickly bored of hauling is grabbing those contracts and completing them as quickly as possible, in part because they are kind of a combat version of the event, so you get some progress without having to necessarily move boxes, but also because some industriously minded players have figured out that you can pick up the contracts for other corporations and then take the loot and drop it off for your chosen corporation. So if you're trying to get Hurston done, for example, but you know that the missions are in very short supply, you could take a microtech mission but just steal the boxes and then deliver them to Hurston for the general hand-in. I'm not so sure about that, but people figure these things out. So I don't know if that is also impacting the availability of missions for some of the less popular corporations, but I don't know. Maybe that's the cynic in me that believes that's why they're doing it. I think Microtech are so nice to people on the comms when you talk about hauling for them that surely everybody would want to help Microtech. I could easily have sped up all of this footage of cargo loading. I often do that in my gameplay videos, is just to speed up the footage to move things on a little bit. But I actually just wanted to show the real time, how long this stuff can take. I know I'm not the quickest at loading cargo, and I know I was helping some of those other people to load their cargo as well. But I just thought it'd be good to show, actually, this is a realistic view of how long this takes. I've moved that box off the elevator. I managed to grab it. It's not actually my box, so I just moved it out the way. But it does say contracted, so maybe it is my box. I better fling it on the ship. I didn't think it was my box. I thought I'd done all of mine, but if it says that it's mine, maybe it is, I guess. So once again, organising the crates from front to back so I know what's where, and trying to keep them as orderly as possible. I know I've just got one more set of 9 crates to bring up, so I'm on the home straight, and if I can do this final box without anybody interfering, then this will be one of the first large contracts I'm able to complete, which gives a good chunk of progress towards that global event. Hopping into this, what has now become pretty much, I think, a public use ATLS, which I'm very happy about. And just try and get these last 9 crates aboard. And then it'll just be a case of dropping off and unloading them at the other end. So I can see some more ships are coming in as well. I don't want to be sticking around here for too long. Everybody that I've met so far has been very friendly, but obviously that's no guarantee that future people will be friendly and cooperative. So I want to be as quick and efficient as I can be about getting these crates off the freight elevator, having that freed up for others to use, and then getting the ship loaded up with all that cargo and getting out of here as quickly as possible. A nice low sun in the sky, the Stanton sun as it were. Nice orange sky on Microtech. Right, I'll leave this ATLS here for others to use. It was kindly left for me to use and I was happy to use it. And then get these crates loaded up aboard the raft before we head away. And that looks about right for me. So with that, call the elevator down. And we'll go and drop these crates off. That person with the MSR looks like they're just finishing loading up from that contract that we helped them with earlier. Incidentally, I am very happy to see the RAFT becoming a very popular ship for this event. I really like the RAFT, and especially with the new expanded cargo storage. I just think it's such a good little ship, a fun little ship. It only really does the one thing it's designed to do, which is move crates, but I feel like it does that so well. I can just see that. It looks like the sun's setting that way, I think, because it seems a bit lower in the sky than it was before, so a nice little external view there, admiring the Stanton sunset over Microtech, one of the nicest planets, I think. There we are, back to the cockpit view, and we'll head back up into orbit. A little bit of afterburner to help and assist. And then spin the ship around, try and grab just some sort of orbital marker to get airborne. And there we are. Nice little view there of Microtech and making a little jump before heading around the planet. And we'll head to Port Tressler, I think, for dropping off this shipment. Once again, a short wait for a hangar to become available. You can see it's now just appeared on that lower right. So we'll head in and land. And one of the nice things about the RAFT as well is that you can land in the medium hangars that it gives you, such that you can keep the back end of the ship facing one of the freight elevators, which makes for very easy loading and unloading. In this case, using the ladder to head up to the top deck, hop into the tractor beam. Remember to power on the tractor beam, and then unloading the crates. I find the tractor beam in the RAFT is much easier to use than for unloading than for loading, especially for these smaller crates. It can be quite fiddly getting the tractor beam exactly where you want it for loading the crates, but for unloading the crates it is wonderfully simple. And this gameplay video is from a couple of days after the event started, and it's from a time when all of the layers of the freight elevator for depositing the cargo are working. So if you're watching this from a time when you have to do a single layer of cargo, I'm sorry that those are the times that we're in right now. I'm also in the same boat, but this was recorded from before then, when it would accept multiple layers of cargo, the glory days as it were. And that was fantastic for the RAFT as well, because as you can see, you can just use the tractor beam to move everything off the ship in just one haul, one go, and that makes things a lot simpler, I think. In case it's not obvious, this is sped up footage. I usually keep how much it's sped up by in the lower left of the screen in case you are wondering, but it's sometimes the faster option, I think, to speed up the footage, and it smooths down the gameplay as well, I think, a bit, especially for these cargo hauling type things. And you've seen the cargo being loaded. I think speeding up the unloading probably makes sense as I guess a director's choice, if you can call me a director for making a YouTube video. And we'll move the last few crates over. Wonderful. So then hop down the elevator. Well, I've gone up the elevator instead, so back down again. And then send these crates down. Are you sure? Yes, I am. And there we have it. That is the large contract completed. So despite the fact that some people in previous attempts were not the most helpful, for this attempt we actually had some help along the way, which was very welcome, and made some progress on the large hauling contracts. And as you can see, unlocked a couple of milestones for different rewards on the way to doing that. Go Team Microtech, I guess. So, if you enjoyed this video, you might press the like button to let me know I should make more videos like this, showcasing real gameplay and real challenges. And if you're not yet subscribed, given that you got this far, you might like to do that too, so that YouTube will know to show you more videos like this in future. But otherwise, and as always, thank you for watching.